This video that I'm making right now is to explain an incident last night on my patio with two dogs that I babysit for the family. I take care of them. One is a full-blooded boxer who's older, and a half boxer, half pit breed who is a rambunctious adolescent. She's very hyper. These dogs spend a lot of time in the house. When I take them, sometimes if I have them for a couple days, they become very docile and quiet. They are no threat to anybody in the family at all. The children, the babies, anybody that's family or familiar, these dogs, you have no problem with them. The boxer is the most lovable dog you could ever meet in your life. Once he adopts you as part of the family, he watches over you and protects you. Penny, the younger, half pit, half boxer, she's pretty, but she's rambunctious. She doesn't have a lot of experience with people or other dogs. Now, what happened last night is I took the dogs at 8 in the morning yesterday, and to facilitate the family and the babysitting conflicts and things like that, I agreed to keep them all day until later in the evening. We had 3 walks. We had a great day. Everything was perfect. These dogs really take to me when they come over here. They totally relax. Just before their owners came to pick them up, it was around dusk. I brought them out here as I usually do. Wait until the jet passes. I brought the dogs out here as I usually do, and what they're used to, the routine. So what I did is I lashed them to this column, and with a lead, and the furthest they could get was right about here. The furthest 10 feet from the column. I was sitting in a chair with a beer and a phone in my hand. The dogs were completely docile, sleeping, enjoying the evening. But the dogs are smart, they're aware, they have great noses. And usually when I'm out here, we have a lot of people at night when the golf course isn't being used walking by. They come off Sundance Parkway there, they walk along here, they have dogs. Well, the dogs get aware. When they smell somebody in the air, another dog, they get up and they get excited and they become alert and they got their nose in the air, and usually just me saying settle down, they lay back down. They're not aggressive dogs. What happened last night while I was on the phone, I just met a neighbor recently, a couple weeks ago, who's renting the second house down. He said he's from Canada. We've had a couple of conversations. We get along. He's personable. So we've invited each other to each other's patio. I've invited him here. He's invited me here. But when he saw me here with the dogs yesterday, and it's the second time he saw me with the dogs, he saw me early in the day when I was walking him with the dogs. So, and the dogs are beautiful looking dogs. They're handsome, good looking, beautiful dogs. So while I was sitting here with the dogs last night, and they were completely docile and comfortable, minding their own business, completely and securely lashed to that column, to where they had only a 10-foot circle, this man came out of his patio, waved, and started walking toward me. Well, this is a protocol that the dogs aren't used to. The dogs aren't used to being up on this patio and having strangers approach through the yard and approach the patio like this, so they became immediately alerted to this fella that was coming. I ended my phone call I was fortunate. It was my brother. I told him, I said, I'll call you back when this man, he's coming over and I'm going to talk to him. So the man came over and the dogs were visibly excited. Who is this guy? What's he doing here? And they they were frustrated because they could only get 10 feet. Now this man, I think he was genuinely attracted to the dogs. He genuinely wanted to be friendly with the dogs. He really did. He was trying to slowly let the dogs sniff him, and the dogs they're tethered, so they're restrained. I've got harnesses on them. I've got leashes on them. They're completely and totally restrained, and they're getting kind of frustrated because he's standing outside of their range, and he would move in like with his foot, let him smell the foot, and he wanted to pet him. And I was trying to tell him these are pretty rambunctious dogs, and the reason they're so excited is because you're more or less you're a stranger. I was trying to get that point across to him. So the guy, he wanted to pet the dogs, and he'd move in, he'd let them smell. Well, what happened is Penny jumped up, and I believe she scraped him with her paw. She was trying to reach him. She couldn't reach him. She jumped up, and with her paw, she reached out as he moved in on her, and she scraped his arm with her paw. This was after a couple minutes of him trying to get in close to the dogs. He probably worked for a couple minutes, letting them smell, being real patient. But the dogs are excited. They're restrained. They're trying to get out of the restraint. Penny's on her hind legs. She's reaching for him. She reached, and I believe it was her paw that put about a 1-inch abrasion, about 1/4 of an inch wide. It wasn't a puncture mark from a tooth. It wasn't a long abrasion from a paw mark. Well, the fellow, when he pulled his arm back, we saw that she had gotten him somehow, and we weren't sure. It was dusk. There wasn't a lot of light, really, to tell if it was a bite or an abrasion. Well, anyway, the man immediately left and went home, and I wasn't going to scold the dogs. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't their fault. They were restrained. I was doing my job, but this man wanted to pet him, and he didn't realize, and I didn't realize. But Penny was trying to reach him, maybe a friendly reach. She's a good-sized dog with a lot of muscle, and if she dragged her paw along his arm, I think that's what did it. So the fellow wasn't sure. We weren't sure if she bit him or it was a paw. I think it was a paw. The man left. He went back to his house. I took the dogs in the house. I immediately took them back in the house. I tried to get a hold of my brother to talk to him on the phone. Well, minutes later, the man came back. He had like a paper towel on his arm that stopped the bleeding. It wasn't bleeding that bad. That's why it was an abrasion. He lost skin, but there was no vital veins or anything. Here he comes now. Here he comes now. All right. Kind of funny, I'm making a video and here he comes now. So I'm going to close the camera and have a private conversation with this man.